everyone. I am going to be reading chapter 2 from My Father's Dragon today by Ruth Stiles Gannett. And before we start reading, I wanted to show you something. I have my big, heavy backpack with me right now. And I take this to school every day, just as many of you bring a backpack to school every day. And the reason I wanted to show you my backpack was because Elmer today will have a backpack as well. But he doesn't call it a backpack, he calls it a knapsack. That's another name for a backpack. So you'll hear that word a lot while we're reading chapter 2. He has a lot of things that he puts inside of his knapsack. And we'll find out in a little bit what he has in his knapsack. So before we get started, I just want to talk about what we read yesterday and make some predictions about what's going to happen in the chapter today. So back in chapter 1, My Father Meets the Cat, we met Elmer Elevator. We met the cat that he found outside and brought home. We also met Elmer's mother, who was very angry that he brought this cat home. And then Elmer was angry at her for not letting him keep the cat. So Elmer and the cat wandered off to a park and went for a walk. And while they were walking, Elmer talked about how he wants to fly. And the cat told Elmer that she knows a way he can fly and that she knows about something on this place called Wild Island. And so today we might find out what this is. So I'm going to show you the pictures in chapter 2 and we'll make some predictions about what we think is going to happen. So chapter 2 is called My Father Runs Away. So I wonder where Elmer might be running today. Where is he running to? What is he running from? The next picture, what do you see? I see what looks like a dragon. And what do you notice about this dragon? I notice that it has stripes on it and it looks like it might be in the sky. I see what looks like clouds around it. And then we have one more picture. Who do you see in this picture? I see what looks like the cat that Elmer met in chapter 1 standing on the dock by the water, and I see a ship in the background. So I'm guessing there's probably a ship in this chapter, and I wonder if Elmer is on that ship. We will read chapter 2 and we'll find out. Chapter 2, My Father Runs Away. Wild Island is practically cut into by a very wide and muddy river, continued the cat. This river begins near one end of the island and flows into the ocean at the other. Now the animals there are very lazy, and they used to hate having to go all the way around the beginning of this river to get to the other side of the island. It made visiting inconvenient and mail deliveries slow, particularly during the Christmas rush. Crocodiles could have carried passengers and mail across the river, but crocodiles are very moody and not the least bit dependable, and are always looking for something to eat. They don't care if the animals have to walk around the river, so that's just what the animals did for many years. But what does all this have to do with airplanes? Asked my father, who thought the cat was taking an awfully long time to explain. Be patient, Elmer, said the cat, and she went on with the story. One day, about 4 months before I arrived on Wild Island, a baby dragon fell from a low-flying cloud onto the bank of the river. He was too young to fly very well. And besides, he had bruised one wing quite badly, so he couldn't get back to his cloud. The animals found him soon afterwards, and everybody said, "Why, this is just exactly what we've needed all these years." They tied a big rope around his neck and waited for the wing to get well. This was going to end all their crossing the river troubles. "I've never seen a dragon," said my father. "Did you see him? How big is he?" "Oh, yes, indeed, I saw the dragon. In fact, we became great friends," said the cat. "I used to hide in the bushes and talk to him when nobody was around. He's not a very big dragon, about the size of a large black bear, although I imagine he's grown quite a bit since I left. He's got a long tail and yellow and blue stripes. His horn and eyes and the bottoms of his feet are bright red, and he has gold-colored wings." "Oh, how wonderful," said my father. "What did the animals do with him when his wing got well?" "They started training him to carry passengers, and even though he is just a baby dragon, they work him all day and all night too sometimes. They make him carry loads that are much too heavy, and if he complains, they twist his wings and beat him. He's always tied to a stake on a rope just long enough to go across the river. His only friends are the crocodiles, who say hello to him once a week if they don't forget. Really, he's the most miserable animal I've come across. When I left, I promised I'd try to help him someday, although I couldn't see how. The rope around his neck is about the biggest, toughest rope you can imagine, and with so many knots, it would take days to untie them all. Anyway, when you were talking about airplanes, you gave me a good idea. Now I'm quite sure that if you were able to rescue the dragon, which wouldn't be the least bit easy, he'd let you ride him most anywhere, provided you were nice to him, of course. How about trying it?" "Oh, I'd love to," said my father, and he was so angry at his mother for being rude to the cat that he didn't feel the least bit sad about running away from home for a while. And usually when I'm reading this to my class in the classroom, we talk about how running away is not safe. And even if you're feeling angry at your family or your parents, or there's something that you're unhappy about at home, running away is not safe, and your parents really do worry about you. But this is a fantasy story, so we're going to go ahead and read and find out what happens to Elmer. That very afternoon, my father and the cat went down to the docks to see about ships going to the island of Tangerina. They found out that a ship would be sailing the next week, so right away they started planning for the rescue of the dragon. The cat was a great help in suggesting things for my father to take with him, and she told him everything she knew about Wild Island. Of course, she was too old to go along. Everything had to be kept very secret, so when they found or bought anything to take on the trip, they hid it behind a rock in the park. The night before my father sailed, he borrowed his father's knapsack, and he and the cat packed everything very carefully. He took chewing gum, 24 pink lollipops, and I have a challenge for you. See if you can figure out how many 24 is. A package of rubber bands, black rubber boots, a compass, a toothbrush, and a tube of toothpaste, 6 magnifying glasses, a very sharp jackknife, a comb and a hairbrush, 7 hair ribbons of different colors, an empty grain bag with a label saying cranberry, some clean clothes, and enough food to last my father while he was on the ship. He couldn't live on mice, so he took 25 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and 6 apples, because that's all the apples he could find in the pantry. When everything was packed, my father and the cat went down to the docks to the ship. A night watchman was on duty, so while the cat made loud, queer noises to distract his attention, my father ran over the gangplank, and that's like the bridge going on to the ship, and he went down into the hold and hid among some bags of wheat. The ship sailed early the next morning. So now that we've read chapter 2, let's go back and see if your predictions came true. So in our chapter title, My Father Runs Away, where was he running away to? And why was he running away? So what I remember reading is that he's running away to this wild island where this baby dragon is being held captive. And part of why he wanted to run away was to help the dragon, but part of the reason he wanted to run away was also because he was angry at his mom, and he didn't feel bad about just packing up his things and leaving. So we learned that this is the baby dragon, and we learned that this baby dragon had fell from the sky, hurt its wing, and landed in Wild Island. The animals captured it because they figured they could get this dragon to work for them. And then once it healed, it became a slave to them. They tie up this dragon and only let this dragon carry them across the river on the island, and this poor dragon can't ever go anywhere. So the cat felt bad and told Elmer, and Elmer, we can infer that Elmer is on that ship, that he got on the dock, got on the gangplank, and he's down in the ship. And the cat, of course, was too old to go. So we'll find out tomorrow when we read chapter 3 what happens once he's on the ship, and we'll find out if he gets to Wild Island. So I hope to see you next time.